Hi, our group members consist of Courtney Clark, Mariah Gordon, Jose Puente, and Alexandria Valdez.
And we're going to be talking about mental health and education for our Critical Issues Group project.
In regards to mental health and education, today we'll be discussing the impact that can be made when you provide resources and help for students, when you have dedicated staff and specialists in your schools, and the difference it can make when you provide resources and training for teachers. Mental health refers to one's emotional, psychological, and social well-being. Mental health impacts one's emotions, thoughts, and actions.
Okay, so this is some history we found in recent years. In 2015, Congress passes the Mental Health in Schools Act, which provided federal funding for school staff to be trained on mental health related issues. And in 2018, New York becomes the first state to mandate mental health education in schools.
According to research, 20% of school-aged children experience mental illness or substance abuse each year. Of that 20% of school-aged children, almost 80% of those children who need mental health services or treatment do not get them. Only 20% of children who need mental health services receive them.
One way we can provide resources and help for students is to have school administration step in addition to state and federal, to ensure that they have the appropriate resources and access to the support and tools they need. For example, this year in July became effective. New York was the first state to require mental health education into their curriculum, and they were able to support the students. This will overcome any negative stigmas about mental health and will also promote awareness nationally. In return, students will receive the help and services they need for their mental illness.
Most of you probably remember taking physical health classes in grade school, but do you think schools should also require mental health education? New York is making history by becoming the first state to enact legislation requiring all elementary, middle, and high schools to incorporate mental health education into their curricula, covering a wide range of areas. The state hopes to reframe mental health as integral to overall health and give students tools to cope with disorders in their own lives.
Kudos to New York
Can we
State.
just stop and do that?
Huge. I mean, it's addressing a real medical issue. 1 out of 5 American kids, 3 to 17, mental disorder. That's more than kids with diabetes, cancer, and AIDS all put together.
And we've taught in school about alcohol abuse, substance abuse. We've taught about sex education, but we don't teach kids about mental health. And kids then have there's a stigma attached to seeking help when they need help. They don't know the signs. They think something's going on with them. And we've seen this high rate of suicide of teenagers and students. So this is a huge step
Life-threatening illness, like you said. Left untreated, mental illness can be lethal by taking your own life.
Oh, absolutely.
And again, the statistics support it. 36% of kids with lifelong mental illnesses, only 36% get help, but then the majority of those don't have lasting help. And with most mental disorders, you need to keep.
But there are studies that support that mental health education, if you receive that you will be more likely to seek resources, which is the most important step.
Yeah, and I love this because, just like people have high blood pressure or they have diabetes, people have mental health issues. And I do think that we need to tell society that it's not a taboo topic. It's a part of life for some people. And, we need to educate people because unless everybody around them is understanding of it, that they're not going to feel comfortable getting the help they need. And so we have to give them the tools they need so that they can succeed in life, because it's not fair to make them feel like they're less than.
And I hope other states, California, and I hope even at the federal level, I hope there's some federal legislation that follows what's happening in New York to make it mandatory for schools across this country. So we don't have to rely on state legislators to do this, but it's a federal mandate that all schools teach this, because we can destigmatize mental health and we can encourage people to get intervention so much earlier, and I bet we can see, incredibly better outcomes for individuals who do
I was
have
looking
mental
at
health
this
issues.
topic last night. My daughter Shannon, psychiatric resident at UCLA, was at home, and these statistics blew me away, and I read them to her, and she just said,
Of course,
what's
how
going
this
on.
is rolled out is really important because this will be the pilot project. Other states will, I think, adopt it if it's done correctly. And that's why I would just wish the state of New York very, very much success in this.
Another resource for students to help with mental health is dedicated staff or specialists who are trained to recognize mental health needs and communicate with students about mental health. Because students often spend more time at school than they do at home, school staff will usually notice any symptoms of mental illness. And according to NPR article, Mental Health Crisis in Our Schools, 3 specific roles to recognize symptoms of mental health illness are the school nurses, counselors, and school psychologists. For nurses, they may experience firsthand with students coming in with physical symptoms such as headaches or stomach aches, which can be signs of anxiety or other mental health illnesses. Next, we have the counselor. In addition to academic help, they're also there to support any personal issues with students or families outside of school. And last, psychologists. Their specific dedication to a student's mental health. However, there's a need for additional support because of the unbalanced ratio of psychologists to students.
Providing training and resources for educators is one way in which we can support students who are dealing with mental health issues. Teachers are not likely to recognize related symptoms of mental illness without proper training and education. Many teachers report that they have never received any education regarding mental health, though they do believe that having an understanding of mental health would help in meeting the needs of their students. Additionally, by providing professional development for all staff and creating positive mental health environments and programming, we further help support our students with mental health issues.
We will address the stigmas and rebuttals about mental health in education. Some might claim that mental health issues are a personal matter and should be kept confidential.
However, some mental illnesses or mental health issues can go beyond a personal matter because they can start to affect other students or affect the classroom environment. Also, teachers are responsible for looking out for the well-being of their students and addressing any signs of trouble that they may see. And with mental health, especially, there can be very serious consequences if they're not addressed. So it's very important that teachers look out for the best interests of the students.
Some might say that funding should be allocated for educational programs or teacher trainings.
However, if we invest in students' emotional well-beings and their mental health, we see that they succeed overall in all of their academic areas and all of their disciplines. So when we invest in their mental health, we are investing in their educational experience and their academics.
Some might think that mental health issues are made up or just an overreaction.
Often this misunderstanding of mental health comes from the stigma that still surrounds mental health, and that is very real. And it often comes from a place of ill-informity and misunderstanding. Mental health issues are very real, especially to the people who are experiencing them. To them, it is not an overreaction, and it's definitely not made up, and it's definitely something that we should all be taking very seriously.